What's good, everyone, and welcome to Kaya's Commentary, where I give my commentary on pop culture topics, real-world issues, anything in between, and maybe even some advice every now and then. Before we get down to it, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at kaya.r.pennington, and you can follow Kaya's Commentary on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya's Commentary. Also, be sure to hit the follow/subscribe button, and if you're on YouTube, click the notification bell so you get notified when new videos drop. Now let's kick off the show with something informational and educational. 28 Days of Black History. Today we're talking about the reparations newly freed enslaved people were promised after the Civil War. All information for this fact comes from pbs.org. So, have you ever heard the term 40 acres and a mule? This is what was promised to formerly enslaved people after the Union Army claimed victory and Abraham Lincoln announced the Proclamation of Emancipation. Side note, in no way are we looking at Lincoln as a savior, especially not in 2023. That man said, and I quote, "My paramount objective in this struggle is to save the Union, and it is not either to save or destroy slavery. And if I could save the Union without freeing any slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that." End quote, just saying. But anyway, Union General William T. Sherman issued this order on January 16, 1865. But Sherman didn't come up with 40 acres and a mule by himself. Sherman and Edwin M. Stanton, the Secretary of War, will hold a meeting with 20 Black Baptist and Methodist ministers. Of these ministers, they chose Baptist minister Garrison Fraser to be their spokesperson. Fraser was a formerly enslaved person himself up until 1857 when he bought freedom for himself and his wife for $1,000 in silver and gold. Fraser told Sherman and Stanton that, quote, "The way we can best take care of ourselves is to have land," end quote. And if asked how they'd rather live, among whites or in colonies by themselves, Fraser answered, quote, "I would prefer to live by ourselves, for there is a prejudice against us in the South that will take years to get over," end quote. After the discussion, Sherman would issue the order that stated in Section 1, quote, "The islands from Charleston south, the abandoned rice fields along the rivers for 30 miles back from the sea, and the country bordering the St. John Rivers, Florida, are reserved and set apart for the settlement of the Negroes, now made free by the acts of war and the proclamation of the President of the United States," end quote. In Section 2, quote, "On the islands and in the settlements hereafter to be established, no white person whatever, unless military officers and soldiers detailed for duty, will be permitted to reside, and the sole and exclusive management of affairs will be left to the freed people themselves. By the laws of war and the orders of the President of the United States, the Negro is free and must be dealt with as such," end quote. Meaning that Black people would have governed themselves. And in Section 3, quote, "Each family shall have a plot of not more than 40 acres of tillable ground, and when it borders on some water channel with not more than 800 feet waterfront, in the possession of which land the military authorities will afford them protection until such time as they can protect themselves or until Congress shall regulate their title," end quote. So Black people would have had access to 400,000 acres of land from the coastline of Charleston, South Carolina to the St. John Rivers in Florida. Sherman would later order that the new settlers could be lent a mule by the Army, thus 40 acres and a mule. So what happened to this form of reparation? Well, upon Lincoln's assassination and Andrew Johnson's succession to the presidency, Johnson would take a more sympathetic view for the Confederacy and the South and would overturn the order in the fall of 1865. This meant returning the land along the South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida coast back to its original Southern owners, like these people didn't just declare a war on their own government. Anywho, despite how this order ended, it was still a very radical and revolutionary idea that, if implemented, could have possibly been a game changer for the race relations in America. And that's your Black History Fact. Let's kick it into our next segment, What's on TV, where I discuss a TV show I've seen. Today's TV show, HBO Max's Velma. Now look, y'all, I wasn't even going to do this show, especially seeing so many people talk about it on my timelines. But it's because of them that I kind of want to throw my 2 cents in as well. So, Velma follows Velma and the Scooby Gang, minus Scooby-Doo. This is supposed to be an adults here version of, I don't even want to call it Scooby-Doo. So this is supposed to be an adults here version of the gang, and Scooby just didn't fit into it. So the show starts off with Velma. Oh, things to mention before I get into the synopsis of episode 1. They're not in Coolsville, they're in Crystal Cove. Velma is a South Indian Asian woman. Did I say that right? She's based off Mindy Kaling. Daphne is of Asian descent. Shaggy goes by Norville, and he's black, and Fred is still white. None of them are friends at first. Well, Daphne and Velma used to be, but they're not anymore. So now it's just Shaggy, Norville and Velma. As I said, there's no Scooby-Doo. And I think that's pretty much it. And none of the characters are like the Scooby Gang that we know, so we can't really compare them to the Scooby Gang that we know, but that's all I've seen people do, and that's what I'm gonna do. So let's get into episode 1. It starts off with a voiceover from Velma talking about how this is her story and how she created Mystery Inc. Something I might actually believe if this were any other Mystery Inc. project. Anyway, so the show kicks off with a shower scene from Daphne and a few other high schooler girls in like the school's bathroom. And they're talking about how pilot episodes for TV shows are way more sexed up than any of the other episodes in a show, all the while showcasing their nudity and talking about how sexed up they are. That's the point. They're doing it on purpose. They're being overtly aware. Velma then comes in and scares Daphne and the girls, and it's here we find out that Daphne and Velma have animosity towards each other. And then we find a dead girl in Velma's locker. So Velma is taken to the police station by Daphne's 2 moms, and she's held there in question. And so we find out that Velma actually does like to solve mysteries, but she tries not to because she used to solve mysteries with her mom, and then her mom like disappeared one night when Velma asked her to go out to the store. And so they found Velma's mom's car and Velma's mom's glasses and a wrapped box gift for Velma, but they never found Velma's mom. So Velma takes her mom's glasses and begins to wear them, and she holds on to the present, which she hasn't opened. She wants to open it when her mom returns, and she doesn't solve mysteries anymore. So she also gets these weird hallucinations that are somehow connected to her mom's disappearance. And logically, we are supposed to believe that her mom just left her Velma and her dad. But given that this is Velma's point of view in a mystery show, I'm sure it's gonna factor in somehow differently. Anywho, so the cops who are, like I said, Daphne's moms, are like, yeah, we know you didn't kill the girl, you just don't have it in you to do that, so help us solve the murder. And so Velma does that overtly aware, stereotypical, I don't solve mysteries anymore. And so the cops are like, yeah, help us solve this or you're gonna get charged with the murder. So there's that. And then she's taken home. Oh, they do this thing because this show is all about being overtly aware and playing up on the stereotypes. So they stereotype lesbian cop moms. And they also have this thing where they just really beat down this entire show. They just beat down how no one likes Velma. Like, everyone thinks that she's weird, she's ugly. No one except Norville, who it is abundantly clear he has a crush on her, really likes Velma. So her moms do this thing where it's like Daphne's white mom is like, oh no, Daphne's black mom is like, did you not want to shower with the other girls because of your weight? And then Daphne's white mom is like, or because of your handsome face? And then Daphne's black mom is like, because of your hairy gorilla arms? Look, I know that verbal abuse can come from anyone, no matter the race, and I know that you get verbally or any other kind of abuse when you don't look a certain way, but I don't know, a dark-skinned lesbian black woman insinuating that Velma is masculine-like because she doesn't look a certain way, that's a little weird to me. Anyway, Velma goes home and she has conversation with her dad. And her dad has this line that's like, don't raise your eyebrows at me, Steve Harvey. I'm not a South Indian Asian woman, especially not a brown-skinned one. But is that how y'all parents talk to y'all? Look, I know parents are bound to say some out-of-pocket stuff, no matter the race, but like, that's weird. And it also beats in on how he doesn't really care for Velma. He calls her weird. His girlfriend Sophie calls her weird. Velma's very condescending to Sophie, but Sophie is also one of those people who are like, you're weird. You's weird. So I don't know if that's deserved or not. So we get to another scene where we get to the funeral scene of the dead girl. So the dead girl is this popular, pretty girl, and so they do that aware, stereotypical, oh, the hot, popular girl is dead, and we're all thinking that maybe she deserved it, but actually she didn't deserve it because she is the exception. And then Daphne takes some shots at Velma, which causes Velma to storm out, where she runs into Fred, and he bumps into her and knocks her glasses off, and she doesn't say the line, by the way, as she picks up her glasses. Fred is having this weird hallucination thing. I don't know if the indication is that he's supposed to be under some type of influence, but he's like, I am a real man, father. And so I don't know what that was, but they bump into each other and he knocks out of it. And then we find out that we see more of his like stupidness, which, let me say this because I forgot to mention, when he gets introduced, he's borderline, if not a fully racist jerk. He thinks that Velma is Mexican and he cheats off her because of that, and she's supposed to be smart or something because of that. He's like, oh, I have a disease where I can't remember the names of anyone who's not hot, and other stuff like that. And he and Daphne do start off the show dating, and Daphne is low-key pressuring him to have sex. But back to the scene I was talking about. They bump into each other and we get this description that he wants his father to be proud of him. He's still stupid and douchey, but we also see that he wants his father to be proud of him. And then Velma goes into her whole backstory of how she solved mysteries with her mom and how her mom's disappeared and how she feels guilty and blames herself, and so she tries not to solve mysteries because of that and the hallucinations. And so Fred actually stays to listen to hear the whole thing, because, you know, the stereotypical thing would be that because they do it in like a montage scene, so when we flash back to the present, the stereotypical thing would be that he's not there anymore and she's talking to herself. But he stayed there to listen to the whole thing, and then he's like, I actually feel like a glimmer of human decency towards you. And then a speeding car almost hits them, and so Velma's like, Fred, watch out, but he takes it the wrong way. He's like, oh, you're right, people don't need to know that I'm talking to you or that I even remembered your name, because he does remember her name. And so he runs off to almost leave her to get hit by the car, but it's just Norville looking for Velma because she hasn't been answering his voice messages, VMs, as he repeatedly mansplains. And so instead of telling her why he's looking for her, he makes her pull out her phone and listen to the voice messages. So he wanted to know if she wanted to do homework with him, and she's like, just send me your answers. And it's like, I don't know if that was supposed to be like, I'll look over them for you, Norville, or I need your answers, Norville, but I kind of hope it's the former because Velma doesn't need Norville's answers. Anyway, he also says he has an idea of who might have killed their classmate. So the first suspect is Sophie, Velma's dad's girlfriend. They think that the dead girl was killed for a picture she took at the Crystal Cove malt shop, and so they're looking for a camera. So Sophie has a new camera, and so Velma is like, aha, that's the camera, but it's actually not. And because she's asking mystery solving questions, she ends up hallucinating, and her dad doesn't know what's going on, but Sophie does, and she kind of brings her out of it. And then her dad is like, I'm sorry I didn't believe you about your hallucinations, but you shouldn't feel guilty because your mom's not gone, she just left. And then we get a montage of where Velma was actually like a brat to her mom. Like, I think she knocked her mom's eye out, and so her mom had to use a glass eye. She ripped up her mom's book, she drank her mom's alcohol, and then accidentally broke her mom's computer. Baby kid stuff. So the logical thing is that her mom just left them. But again, as I said, because this is a crime solving show, I'm sure it'll factor in that Velma's right and her mom just disappeared. So Velma doesn't want to hear this, and she is like, no, la 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 la, I don't want to hear it. Honestly, a childish thing to do, but can you really put a timestamp on healing trauma? I guess not. So we flash forward to a school day because Velma's like, oh, actually, I might have just been a brat to my mom and she might have just left us. So she throws away the unopened present and then does the ugly duckling transformation. So that's in here too. Yay! And so it works, but it doesn't. She walks into school and all the students are like, wow, you're hot. And then another one of the mean girls calls her out and is like, I call BS. And so all the other students start turning on her. And so actually Fred steps up to help her out in not a great way, but I guess it works because the students are like, oh, okay, I'll leave you alone. So Velma, she rushes to the bathroom to like wipe off all the makeup and stuff and is confronted by Daphne, who for some reason is jealous that Fred stood up for Velma. And then Daphne tells Velma that, hey, Fred uses the, she's like, if you want Fred so bad, you can have him, but just know this, he uses the Crystal Cove malt shop bathroom and he kicks everybody out when he does. So Fred becomes a suspect in the dead girl's disappearance. And so Velma goes to investigate with Norville and she starts to hallucinate because she's asking mystery-solving questions. And so Norville tries to snap Velma out of it and he ends up confessing to her that he likes her. And she's like, LOL, ew, you like me? No way. Gross. And it's like, not needed, but I'll get to that later. So that breaks her out of it, and then we find out that Fred actually has the camera, and he took it because he's a late bloomer. He has not gone through puberty yet, and so he has very shiny legs and all of that stuff. Yeah. So he gets all menacing like he might do something to Velma, but actually he was just going to pay Velma off to keep her silent. But before we can figure that out, Daphne's moms come in and shoot him in both kneecaps. And then he proclaims his innocence, and so Velma, not really over the fact that her mom just left, gets the unopened gift out of the trash and prepares to go back inside, but they find another dead girl in her trash can, and that's episode 1. So, a lot has been said about the show, and here are my 2 thoughts. Look, it's kind of annoying when I see people be like, that's not the Scooby Gang, that's not the Scooby Gang, what is this, because it's like, yeah, that's the point, it's not supposed to be, so stop comparing it to the Scooby Gang that we know. On the other hand, in that same breath, therein lies the freaking problem. Like I said, it is a little annoying to see people be like, that's not Velma, that's not Shaggy, because no, it's not, and it's not supposed to be. But stop trying to change characters that already have established personalities. Like, you took a show that, what I would say, transcends time and decided to mess with it. Like, each generation has its own Scooby-Doo, and a lot of people, myself included, grew up on each generation's version of Scooby-Doo. And so for you to take this and take these characters and not expound upon their personalities, but just simply change them, is annoying. Like, you could have just made something else entirely without touching the Scooby Gang, and it literally still would have been its own show. But because you touch people that already have established personalities, now you're trying so hard to be different, which you wouldn't even have to try so hard if you just made something else up. Like, this show is just, I don't like anyone. I can't root for anyone. Velma is very condescending. I'm smarter than you, and I'm a loner loser, but that makes me okay because I'm not gonna fall into like society's expectations, and I'm better than. Very pick me. And it's like, I can't root for you. Like, shut up. Norville has to be like the least aggravating one, but it's also like, he is very crushing on Velma, and so he does this stereotypical, oh, in other shows you sell something that you really care about and then gaslight the girl into dating you, so let's do that and stuff like that, and it comes off really creepy. Also, when they're investigating him and Velma, as I said, he thought he knew who killed their classmate, and then they do some more stereotyping. I can't even remember what it was, but being overtly aware before Norville makes a point to be like, I hate drugs. And it's like, I guess you had to do that because otherwise he would be the weed head black best friend. So I guess that's why they couldn't make a Shaggy. He'd be stereotypical. But he's rich, but he's just weird. He's weird. Daphne is a bitch. And yes, it's a cover, but it's like, it's aggravating. And she's a drug dealer, so there's that. And it's like, everyone in Mystery Inc. was loaded. And just because you changed the race does not mean everyone has to be strapped for cash. Like, that's weird. Fred, he's more so than his, what do you call it, himbo characters in any other Scooby-Doo adaptation. Here it's just, he's unlikable and he's stupid, and it's aggravating. It's not funny. It's aggravating. None of the characters are rootable for. The show itself tries so hard to be something that it's not, which will not necessarily be something that it's not, but it tries too hard to be edgy and something different. And it would not have to be if you just took completely different characters. Like, none of these characters share any personality traits with the Scooby-Doo gang that we know. Shaggy does have a fear of like solving the unexplained. He doesn't like that, but that's pretty much it. And back to Velma, it's like, this whole loner loser thing is really a choice. Like, they hone in on the fact that no one likes Velma because, oh, she's different and she doesn't conform to society and she's not gonna do that, and she makes quirky quips and all of that stuff, which are her just being overtly mean and condescending. It's like, you know what? A lot of adaptations of Scooby-Doo have played on Velma's insecurities. In the live-action Monsters, Inc., Velma is like, I have not ever really gotten that kind of attention before, and so I'm much more comfortable in books, and so that kind of attention kind of makes me feel weird. I don't know. Something to explore, you know? But here it's just like so unbearable and self-deprecating, especially when Shaggy's like, oh, I like you. She's like, LOL, you can't like me. You're like a brother to me, Norvio. If I found humor attractive, I'd be all over you, but I don't, so I won't. You cannot like me. And it's like so self-deprecating for Velma, especially since everyone wants to be Velma these days. Like, what? Fred and his himbo attitude. Now look, many adaptations have played around with that. In the live action, Spooky Island, he's like, you know, Velma, I didn't always mean to make you feel like I was choosing you last. Dorky chicks like you turn me on too. And then when Velma scoffs and walks away, he was like, it's a compliment. And then in like Monsters Inc., several times when he's talking to Daphne, he's like, talking is for wimps, it's time for action. Or when Daphne asks him if he thinks she's just a pretty face, and he's like, no. I mean, yes. I mean, not bad. Definitely not bad. Is that what you're looking for? Like, we see that he's like not all the times considerate, or that he's like, you know, a little dense. And then there's a pup named Scooby-Doo, but you can blame his personality there on him being a child. So we see how different adaptations play around with it. But here, it's just unbearable. I don't like anyone. I can't root for anyone. It's just trying so hard to be something different, and it can't be because it touched characters that there's no separating. People are going to continuously be like, this is not the Scooby Gang, because it's not, and why would you take those? And it's just weird. Like, that being said, I wouldn't be a true fair critic if I didn't see it through, so maybe I will come back after season 1 rounds out to talk about it again. I'm on episode 6 right now, and my expectations remain low. It's not great. It's really not. But I must proclaim fairness. But my thoughts about this show right now, I would not recommend it. It is trying too hard to be different, and it just sucks. It sucks. It feels like, I haven't seen many of Mindy Kaling's projects, but I hear she's like the Indian Tyler Perry, and she always inserts herself into the characters. I can't say whether that's true or not, but I do wonder if a lot of this stuff is just her and not Velma. Any form of Velma that you could come up with. It's weird. None of the characters are likable. But let's kick it into our third segment, Be For Real, where I implore the delusional to be for real. Today's topic, talking about how significant others get treated. Specifically, if the celebrity is black, is white, and their significant other is black. You always hear that, oh, I don't think she's his type. She just doesn't look like his type. Or Zendaya, stop cheating on me. Come back to me, baby. Or, no, Chris Evans is dating a white woman. Or, not Dylan O'Brien stepping out with his white girlfriend. I don't know if they were upset with her being white, but you know. And I was gonna make this an unpopular opinion, but I cannot be the only one who thinks that this stuff is weird. Like Chris Evans, I think it was maybe when the public first found out that Chris Evans may have a girlfriend, or his quote-unquote flirting with Lizzo, or when he actually stepped out with his girlfriend. But the reaction was insane. Now, Chris Evans is insanely popular among black women, which that's fair. He's a very attractive and what seems to be very unproblematic white man, and so that's fair. But I remember when he stepped out with his girlfriend, you had a whole bunch of these off the deep end black women being like, see, I knew he didn't like black women. Now I gotta cut him off. And it's like, what? Look, we don't know who he's talked to in the past, who he was talking to before his current girlfriend, who he may talk to if they break up, not wishing that on them. But what we do know is that he just so happens to be dating a white woman right now. And that's fine. That doesn't mean he doesn't like black women. It just means he's dating a white woman right now, someone within his race. When do we get upset with that? Flipping it to Tom Hiddleston. I didn't even know Tom Hiddleston had a black wife until, I don't know, because it's like the last time I heard about him and his dating status was when he was dating Taylor Swift. So see how much I keep up with that. But I don't think I found out until I saw the abhorrent comments about her from his fans on TikTok. And I'm not gonna go into what was said, but it was awful. And it's like, y'all don't know this man. Y'all don't know who or what he likes. And something that, like, no matter the celebrity, I just want to say this. Y'all know it was never gonna be y'all, right? Right? Well, in case you didn't know, it was never gonna be you. You have like a 1 in a trillion chance of it being you. Like, you don't know these people. Be so for real. And I can't remember if it was Chris Evans or if it was Tom Hiddleston. But I remember seeing someone post a letter, and I remember they added whoever it was. I can't remember the letter in its fullness, but it was pretty freaking loony. And I can't remember what celebrity it was towards, but I do remember that they added whoever it was. And I remember the first sentence starting off like, as a 30-year-old, I am very disappointed in you. Let's break down that sentence. As a 30-year-old. 30. At your big age of 30, why the hell are you in another 30-year-old's business? Especially one you don't know. I'm very disappointed in you. You don't know them. Like, y'all are big delusional, huh? Because you don't know them. Like, be so for real. If you cannot be anything else, be so for real. Zendaya. Oh, Zendaya, stop cheating on me. Come back to me, baby. I'm just waiting on Tom Holland to fumble Zendaya so I can get her back. Are y'all not embarrassed? Are y'all truly not embarrassed? Do y'all truly have no shame? Look, you will have these people who are like, it's not that serious. It's not that deep. It's just a joke. It's a corny joke. Y'all are posting this stuff on the World Wide Web. Then sit here talking about, I know they're not gonna see it. Then at them? You know they're not gonna see it, but you at them? They may not respond, but they see that stuff, and so do their significant others, because hey, this is the World Wide Web for a freaking reason. And it's like, y'all are wishing bad on someone's relationship for you to what? Because you're never gonna meet that person. You have a very slim chance of meeting, let alone getting in a romantic relationship with that person. You wishing bad on them for what? And words have power. I don't care what no one says. Words have power, and that is wishing bad on someone, and I will stand by that. Like, are y'all not embarrassed? Are y'all truly not embarrassed? It's not that deep. It's just a joke. It's a corny joke. It's a very corny joke. It's weird, and you're gross. And I'm sure Tom Holland has like weird fans, but considering Zendaya is black, I'm not gonna go down that hateful rabbit hole. So look, it's okay for these people to be y'all crushes. It's okay for y'all to have appreciation for their craft and that personality that we see, that they let us see. But at the end of it all, y'all need to know what's okay and what's not, what's appropriate and what's not. Posting that stuff on the World Wide Web is not appropriate. It's weird and it's obsessive behavior. Get a grip and be for real. And with that, let's kick it into our fourth segment, Unpopular Opinions, where I give my commentary on one of my unpopular opinions. Today's unpopular opinion, the notion of not owing anyone anything, and why I disagree with that thought process. And I want to start off by saying that no, this is not a this generation problem. I would very much argue that slave generation and Jim Crow generation did not have apathy or empathy or sympathy or any of those. But I do notice it more within this generation because that's what I grew up in, / that's what I am, right? And so I feel like it's being more embraced these days, like very much more embraced these days. What they got to do with me? I don't owe that person nothing. Who was that person to me? I don't care what they got to do with me. Or I don't have to respond to your good morning, whatever, what have you, yada, 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 because I don't want to talk to you, whatever. What they got to do with me? Look, I know some people, a lot of people, might say that I'm playing respectability politics, which may or may not be true, but that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just that thought process aggravates the ever-loving crap out of me because we do owe people things. Basic human decency. Treat people how you would want to be treated, which, you know, would hopefully be decent. Like, let's say that the situation is someone is upset. And because under this guise of not owing anyone anything, they don't owe you that nice attitude or whatever, or they don't owe you having to hide that they are upset at something, and instead they project that upsetness onto you. Like their attitude, they don't necessarily blame you for whatever the problem is, but that attitude, that snarky, rude attitude you get. And if it's out of pocket, it's completely undeserving, right? And now you're gonna get upset because you didn't deserve that, right? And under the guise of not owing anyone anything, you go project that attitude onto someone else, and so on and so forth. We do owe people human decency. And me personally, one of the quickest ways to get on my bad side is not returning and responding to the general politeness that I afford you, because I will. And so if you don't like respond to my good morning or hello, whatever, however you, whatever, etc., I'm gonna be a little annoyed. Now I live by a 3-strike rule, so if on this third time that I greet you with that and you say nothing to acknowledge that I spoke to you, we won't have beef, but you gonna get that same energy from me. And to me, that energy is rude, hostile, standoffish energy, because I don't deserve that, you know? I'm not asking for a conversation. I'm just asking you to respond to me because I spoke to you, right? And so that might not have been what you were trying to do, a hostile, nasty attitude, and how I took it is completely a personal problem. But like, I live by 3-strike rule, and if on that 3rd strike you still standoffish and can't even say hi because I spoke to you, you're gonna get that energy in return from me, regardless if it's a personal problem on my end that I took it that way, or if that's not what you were trying to do. Because like, why? I know that we say that respect is earned, not given, but if you come at people with this standoffish energy all the time, how are people supposed to know that you deserve respect? Personally, unless they're a completely horrid person and we know that, I feel like respect should be assumed, and basic human rights should be assumed. Basic human rights should always be given, no matter your thoughts on them, unless, again, they are a completely horrid person. I feel like that stuff should be assumed, given on first meeting, and then if their energy is off and you just, like my 3rd strike rule, if just by that 3rd time something is just weird, then it's like, okay, standoffish energy, gonna kind of stay away from you, because that's negative energy that you're just constantly putting out to me. And it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, dang, smile, we're not doing that. But honestly, you can respond to me talking to you, to me saying hello, because I'm not asking for a conversation, I'm asking you to respond to me speaking to you, you know? And it's just like, if people have to really get to know you to figure out you're not a butthole, I just don't feel like you're gonna get that respect. They're gonna treat you with a cold, standoffish energy. And it's like, you don't deserve that, right? Gratitude, anything anyone has ever done for you, especially if it's going out of their way, but they did it for you just because it was you and they care about you, that doesn't deserve to be brushed off with a, I ain't asked them to do all that. Just say thank you. It's not that hard. Now, I want to say this, I'm not talking about the stupid parent-child argument, okay? But I am talking about somebody, I don't know, went and bought you food just because they knew you couldn't get out to lunch or something like that. You know, it don't hurt to say thank you. And I've seen this thing on TikTok, and honestly, I'm very conflicted about this one, where somebody will pay you a compliment, instead of saying thank you, you be like, I know. You don't be like, I know, but you know, you say, I know. Like, and I don't know how I feel about that. Because on one hand, it's like, you do know, okay. But on the other hand, it's like, what's wrong with a thank you? Somebody appreciating your beauty. I don't know. I don't think it's that hard. I think you want to be treated, you treat people as you want to be treated, and you wouldn't want to be treated in such a hostile, cold, standoffish way, right? And y'all can sit here and be like, oh, you're a product of some white supremacy, classism, elitism, respectability politics, or whatever. That's not what I'm trying to do. I swear, y'all, I think this is a very nuanced conversation to be had, and more can be said, but overall, I just don't think it's that hard to return simple politeness. Because I don't know, what if your thank you, or if your simple smile, or if your simple here you go gesture or something, I don't know, what if that was somebody's reason to not become a 13 Reasons Why? And it's like, yeah, that's not on you to not be somebody's 13th reason, or, you know, whatever, what have you. But also, it's like, life is hard. I don't know, I just don't think it's that hard to sit here and be like, thank you, how are you? Responding to people saying hello, and just decent manners. I'm sorry, I don't think it's that hard, and I think a lot of this is being embraced, and it's like, why are we becoming so emotionless? Why are we embracing being cold? I don't like it. Unless they are a completely horrid person, I don't like it. And y'all can be like, oh, it don't bother me. It just don't bother me. At some point, it's going to bother you, because at some point, you're going to want someone to show you a glimmer of kindness. It's not that hard. But this is just my unpopular opinion. And that's Kaya's commentary. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe/follow button, leave a comment down below, let me know any of your thoughts and opinions. Be respectful, but definitely let me know what you think. And with that, see you next week.